You're listening to Miss Opinionated, real life, real perspective, and unapologetic truth. Here is your host, Divine Priestess.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Miss Opinionated. I'm your host, Divine Priestess. Today, we are going to touch on patterns. We are going to touch on self awareness. Okay. We're going to have some accountability going on. Okay. This episode is definitely going to touch on some spiritual things, psychological things, and just ultimately life in itself. Okay. So we're talking about patterns in relationships. We're talking about unhealed wounds. We're talking about awareness versus change, and also breaking cycles intentionally. So as you can see, the episode is called Why You Keep Repeating the Same Lessons. And I'm pretty sure in previous episodes I have addressed this. I definitely know in readings I have addressed this. Of we will come across the same people, right? We will come across the same person just with a different face. And what I mean by that is a lot of times we find ourselves in the same situation, just with different people, maybe a different timing, right? Maybe different environment, but somehow ends up having the same outcome. Okay. So the same type of relationships, the same emotions, and the same lessons are showing up over and over and over and over and over and over again. Okay. So at some point you have to ask yourself, is this bad luck? Right? Some people like to sit there and say, oh, it's witchcraft. Someone's doing spell work for your demise, whatever the case may be. Or is it just something you haven't learned yet? Is it something that you have not learned yet? Okay. So today, again, we're talking about why we repeat the same lessons and what it actually takes to break the cycle. I remember at a previous gathering at Casa de Aguas Dulces, I I don't remember if it was addressed at the women's circle or if it was addressed at Cultivate, which is a co-ed space. And I know we were talking about generational trauma, also generational curses, as some people like to call it. And I said that it is not a curse that a witch put out on you and a family. It's you repeating habits, something that maybe you were taught knowingly or something that you have seen and end up picking up. Therefore, you are repeating it. And now you're repeating this cycle, right? That generational curse. Okay, you're repeating a pattern, you're repeating a cycle that you witnessed coming up. Okay. And so it's the same thing that we are having today. We are repeating patterns, we are repeating cycles simply because either A, we're just not aware of it, okay, or B, you are thinking that next time is going to be different. And that's crazy. Because if you have a cookbook and you follow the recipe down to the T, is that recipe, right, is the final product going to taste the same every single time? If you follow the recipe down to the T, is the finished product going to come out the same way every single time? The answer is yes. You don't need to think about it. The answer is yes. Okay. And so let's talk about recognizing the patterns. Patterns don't always look identical, but they feel familiar. They don't always look identical, but they definitely feel the same. Even if you try to tweak it a little bit, okay? I can compare this to like a sprint. A sprint and just a jog, you're still running. It may not look exactly the same, but nonetheless, you are still running. A jog is still a run. Okay. You can call it a light jog, you can call it a heavy jog, you can say, I'm picking up the pace. You're still running. Okay? It's still giving you that same feeling. You're feeling the heart race. You're feeling the sweat coming off of you. Okay? Your breath, maybe your breathing is a little bit deeper, maybe it's shallow, whatever the case may be, but it's still the same. Okay? So we have to recognize this when it comes to people, because also I'm not really big on blaming things on people, right? Good example, a lot of people will bring up, especially when it comes to me being in the spiritual community, trying to go into closed practices of, oh, well, you got scammed over here and you went through this over there. And I sit here and I'm like, I don't blame them for what they did to me. The only thing I can sit here and say, and what I've learned, is that I have to start trusting my gut, because I continue to stay and go through these things by listening to other people. By listening to other people tell me what to do. My life and their life, completely different. My experience and their experience, different. How I perceive the world and how they perceive the world, different. Okay? And so one of my biggest lessons is trusting my gut. I I don't care how much you don't agree with me on what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it and why I do what I do, because I feel in my gut and therefore I need to listen to it. Because every time I did not listen to my gut and listen to what another person told me to do based off what they would do or based off what they did, whatever the case may be, or whatever spirit telling them, oh, I don't care. I know not to listen to that, because every time I've listened, I ended up having to deal with the consequences. They don't have to deal with it. So when a lot of people come and ask me for advice or guidance, I will sit there and say, I'm not going to tell you what I would do. I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do, because number one, I'm not living your life, so I don't have the full picture. All I can go is based off what I see. However, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I will tell you, though, to listen to your gut. I will tell you to go into prayer and ask for guidance on what to do. Ask your spirits to give you clarity so that way you can make the best decision. That is it. I'm not going to tell you what to do. When it comes to love readings, people will ask, oh, should I leave this person? I'm not going to tell you to leave the person. I will, however, tell you the energy of what it will be if you stay and the energy if you leave, how things are going to pan out for you. And you make your decision based off of that, because I am not going to be blamed for what happens. I'm going to give you the information so you can make the decision. So, and I've always been like that, but I will say I started implementing that even more when I started listening to other people tell me what to do. That is how I got scammed before, right? By listening to someone say, oh, you always change your mind. You're very indecisive. I'm not an indecisive person. I know what I want, and I move based off spirit. Spirit tell me to go, I'm going. However, I got scammed because I'm listening to what that person told me. It's contemplating in my mind of start sticking things through, start seeing things through, stop picking up and leaving, right? Because you're letting people down, or people start to look at you as, you're not dependable, whatever the case may be. So I end up staying despite getting the repeated messages, getting the repeated signs to leave. Going against my intuition cost me thousands. And so, but the pattern, and again, I'm not going to put the blame 100% on someone. I recognize the pattern of start listening to your gut, listen to your intuition, because that has happened numerous times. Maybe not on that grand scale, but that grand scale, really put it into place. Listen to your gut. Another thing that I have learned of being patient. Do not rush. Certain things, yeah, if it moves fast, it moves fast, but don't force. And that's the whole thing when it comes to patience. It is not that you are not walking towards these things. It is don't try to force it. Again, a lot of lessons, hard lessons I had to endure because I was forcing things, right? I don't even want to say I was rushing things, but I definitely was forcing things to happen when I wanted to happen instead of trusting the timing of spirit, right? Do I need to give any more examples? No? Okay. So different faces, same energy, same thing. I've noticed this when it came to friendships. I noticed this when it has come to situationships. I noticed this when it comes to relationships, right? I have this habit of taking care of people, of putting other people before me, and instead they begin to resent me for that. And they begin to mistreat me, betray me, whatever the case may be. And I have gone through that multiple times. And it's like maybe let's slow the roll on things and not rush into a relationship, right? Or not even necessarily rush. Maybe let's just pump the brakes to take a little bit more time to get familiar with each other. So that's why I have this 3-month rule of get to know me for 3 months. Be my friend, 3 months. Get to know me. Get to know my temperament. Get to know how I communicate, because the way I communicate, a lot of people misinterpret it and misunderstand it. But also because I noticed that a lot of people will misinterpret what I'm saying because they take it as if I'm doing a dig on them when really I'm talking about myself. So therefore they're projecting, right? I have people that are very aware of how I communicate. So the conversations go, it's never nothing personal. However, there are some people where I communicate with them. It's like, okay, now you're projecting because I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about me. But okay, right? So this 3-month rule, you get to know me, know my temperament, know how I communicate, know what makes me happy, know what is kind of like a trigger point. Okay. I'm a very outgoing person. I crack jokes with a lot of people. You can't be insecure. And you need to know that me kikiing and ha-ha with people, especially men, that I'm not flirting, right? So get to know me to know what flirting really looks like with me, because everyone, again, is different. And I have that so that way, again, I'm not repeating this whole thing of we're dating, and then within like 2 months, now we're in a relationship, and now you're seeing, oh, well, I don't really like that. I don't like that. And now I'm having to change myself to make you feel better. But now you're complaining because I'm not this person that you, and it's like, get to know all sides of me. As the olden people would say, you have to be with someone for multiple seasons because every season you're different. Okay. So again, recognizing these patterns is the first step, but you also have to start implementing these things. So yeah, I recognize that I don't listen to my intuition. I recognize that I will take the advice of someone, and since maybe I view them with respect, or someone that's very knowledgeable, right? Someone that's wise, that I will put it before my own. I recognize that. Maybe let's stop doing that. And so, what are all the ways that we can stop doing it? Because a lot of times when we say we're going to stop doing something, we go very cold turkey, and then it's kind of turning us a little sour, right? Example, oh, I'm going to stop talking about this to such and such. And so now every time that person tries to talk to you about this thing, you're giving a cold shoulder, right? You're coming off very rude instead of like redirecting it gracefully, right? Or communicating effectively. Okay. So it does take a little practice. Emotional deja vu. It's that feeling of like I've been through this before. Again, when it comes to relationships, I have been in relationships where they would put, I'm not gonna say they necessarily put hands on me, but they would try to rough me up, right? And so I'm able to recognize that pattern based off the look in their eye. Because if you've been in an abusive relationship or a relationship where it's physical, they got a look in their eye and you can tell what's about to happen. It's just something that you can't explain. But I can see it in their eye. I'm seeing it in their demeanor, right? I'm noticing their tone of voice. I'm noticing how close they're getting to me. It's like, I've been here before. I know where it's about to go. Or this conversation getting real heated and I'm seeing how you moving around. I know where this is about to go, right? That deja vu is like, I've been here before. I know what's about to happen. So again, recognizing the patterns, it really does affect relationships, friendships, work environments, and just also it can point out how you self-sabotage. So when it comes to forming habits, they say it takes 28 days for it to become a routine. Now, some people say that you will master this habit, this routine in 28 days. Some people say no, it takes a lot longer. Okay. But nonetheless, you recognizing these patterns, it can point out how you self sabotage a lot. Me, I see that I will self sabotage by sharing things prematurely or by sharing things with people that it does not involve. Because again, the whole projection, the whole, oh, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. And it's like, I didn't even tell you the full story and you're telling me what to do. So now I'm having to explain to you why I'm doing what I'm doing, how I'm gonna do it, this and a third. And it's like I don't want it. So it's like just don't share, right? Don't share certain things until it's done. Okay. Or if you know that a lot of the miscommunication happens on your behalf because you probably do something very specific every single time, recognize that. And when it comes to recognizing patterns and when it comes to being aware of these things, don't take it as if you have to punish yourself. Because that's a thing too of when becoming self-aware of things and wanting to make changes, a lot of times we begin to punish ourselves for it and begin to punish ourselves for the things that have happened in the past. Don't punish yourself. Be aware of it so the way you can make the change. It's okay. It's okay. You recognized it. Now let's change it. Don't cry over spilled milk. Clean it up and go get you another glass. Okay. So here's the first prompt of the episode. Where in your life do you keep experiencing the same outcome? Again, I experience the same outcome by telling people what I'm going to do and they giving me their opinions on what I should do and how I should do it. And in the past, when I've listened to it, it's like, I should have went with my plan. Okay. Or when it comes to relationships, a lot of relationships should have ended a long time before. However, listening to other people telling me that what I was feeling in my gut was just being dramatic. And again, I'm ignoring it. I was like, oh, maybe I am being dramatic. And then I go into this relationship or I deal with this person a little bit longer. And exactly what I said was going to happen end up happening. Because again, I'm always got my ear to spirit. I am a praying woman. I pray. And I go to spirit a lot for, clarity and guidance on the things that I should do, right? And I receive that. And what I receive is not meant for me to go express to others. So I don't know who needs to hear that message, but whatever spirit has revealed to you, that is not for you to go discuss with other people because they're not going to understand because they are not where you are. They're not. They're not where you are. If they've been through it, cool. But a lot of times they ain't been through it. Okay. Why do patterns repeat? Patterns repeat for numerous reasons. Number one is going to be unhealed wounds. Number two, just subconscious beliefs. Number three, lack of awareness. And number four, just comfort and familiarity. Comfort and familiarity. Okay. I want to start off with number four with the patterns of the comfort and familiarity. I said this. I don't remember if I've said it in an episode, but I definitely know I've said this in conversations. And I definitely know I have said this in readings. That when you are familiar with something, no matter how chaotic it may be, it just feels normal. Did I say this in the last episode or the episode before? You see how things just move all smooth, right? It's just like a free flowing river. It's just going all in the right direction. Okay. We get comfortable. It's familiar. That is why a lot of the habits repeat. You're content. You are comfortable. Now, again, it is okay to recognize that. Do not beat yourself up behind, I sure do get comfortable in this, and it ain't meant for you to beat yourself up. It's meant to, you know what, I sure do that. Let's change it today. That's it. Let's change it today. Okay? Predictability, even if unhealthy, feels safe. You know what's going to happen. And a lot of times we allow that thing to happen. We don't try to change it. We don't try to remove ourselves. We know. It's like standing in a line of fire. Okay, you know that something is about to happen, but you don't remove yourself from it. For whatever the case may be. Again, and just be honest with yourself. Comfort and familiarity, right? Chaos feels normal. If you stand in shit long enough, you won't smell it. That is a saying that I heard probably in high school, right? You stand in mierda long enough, you won't smell the mierda. You won't smell the caca. Becomes a norm. Let's look at, it's a show that used to be on TLC, Extreme Hoarders. It's a good example of habits because that chaos, right? That piles and piles and piles of stuff did not happen overnight. It happened little by little by little by little, and it got to this point. And again, it's happening so little by little that you become adjusted to it. It's like medicine. A lot of people want medicine to to cure immediately. Keep taking it and taking it because it's building up in your system. It's building and building and building and building. And as it's building, it's pushing out, it's pushing out, it's pushing out, right? And so now your immune system has worked up to this way because it built up so much in your immune system that, okay? There's a good book that I want you guys to read, especially with us talking about these routines, talking about these habits. A good book I want you guys to read is Atomic Habits. It is a really good book. I had this conversation with my supervisor a year ago when I read it. And she was like, yeah, a lot of things that we use in ABA is in the book Atomic Habits. And it really is. It really is. And so there's a specific part in Atomic Habits. It talks about the 1% rule. A lot of times when we want to implement something new, we want to go 100%. And we want to do 100% every single day. And then it gets a day we don't do 100%. Now we feel like we failed. And now it's like, oh, well, I'll just get back on it down the line, right? Or late. So the 1% rule was you work on something to get better 1% each day. So today you start on something, 1%. Tomorrow you do that 1% again. Now you're at 2%. Day 3, 1%. Now you're at 3%. And it just builds and builds and builds. Okay. It's also the whole thing of constantly showing up for yourself. Instead of trying to do 100% every day, just do the best you can. So this is where the 4 agreements come into play, because the 4 agreements, one of the agreements is always do your best. You may not have the energy to do 100% today, but you got energy to do 50. That's your best. Do it. So that way tomorrow you are still progressing, because now you're just adding up on top of that. Okay. It's another thing of like, and I'm going to use an example because, again, the things that I have seen growing up, it is like when a person is going through withdrawals, maybe from some form of addiction, they're going through withdrawals. And again, I've witnessed withdrawals. Going through a withdrawal, some people will say, don't go cold turkey. Just slowly remove it. Do less and less and less and less. And then it's boom. Caffeine is a good example because I don't want to get too dark. Caffeine is a good example. If you drink caffeine every day, you drink a lot of caffeine every single day, the day you stop drinking caffeine, you're going to have a headache. You're going to have a headache. There was a time where I would drink 3 cups of green tea in a day. One day I didn't, had a headache. The way to get rid of that headache, I had to drink some more caffeine. And so what I started to do was, if I would drink caffeine and I know that I don't want to drink much, this is when you're doing a high amount of caffeine. You start slowly drinking less and less and less. Or if you just stop drinking caffeine completely, be sure to have some aspirin on deck because you're going to have a headache. Okay? And so going cold turkey when trying to change a habit, it can be cool. Do it. But also have some grace with yourself and have some patience because it may be challenging versus slowly starting to implement things. So if one of the patterns you recognize is your communication is not up to par, maybe every now and then try to go a little bit deeper into communicate better in expressing yourself, right? Or when someone is saying something you don't like, start working on how you respond or how you receive, right? Build up that confidence to begin expressing little by little. So it's a process. So ultimately, just have grace with yourself. So now let's jump to number 1 because I did like number 4 and I just want to get straight to number 4. So the unhealed wounds, right, of why patterns repeat. Unhealed wounds, the trauma response, the seeking familiar dynamics, and just trying to fix what once hurt you. A big thing is people will say, if I ever got the chance to do this again, or if I had the chance to repeat this, I would do this differently. And a lot of times you do have the chance to do something differently because you're going to be faced with that situation with a different person. Okay. So instead of trying to fix what was once before, focus on the now and focus on what's in front of you. Because a lot of times we have these unhealed wounds, especially when it comes to people. We want to go back to that person and try our darnest to mend things, try our darnest to fix it. And so now you're just adding more to that pile, or yeah, you're just adding more to that pile and ultimately making things worse. Leave it where it's at. And all you can do is do better for the next. Because when the next person come in and you notice that, oh, this is a similar situation to what I went through, I'm going to put this boundary up. I'm going to communicate some things, or I'm just not going to go down that route at all. However the case may be, that's how you can fix what was hurt. Because it comes back to that thing of trying to get closure. And a lot of times you're not going to get closure. You're not going to get closure if it involves someone else a lot of times. You have to close it yourself. You got to move forward. The seeking familiar dynamics. Again, because of familiarity. Okay. You are used to a certain thing. So now you're always looking for that thing. Even if that thing wasn't good for you, you go out looking for it because that's what you know. Talked about this in the love that binds, right? The cord cutting and love work and bonding. Talked about this in that episode of when it comes to unhealthy dynamics, unhealthy relationships. You know you're in a toxic relationship, but you're familiar with it. So when the next person come in and they're toxic, there's something that, again, you get that excitement because it's like you're familiar with it. It's that whole thing of when you come across a partner and they don't argue, right? They communicate well, this and the third. You kind of have that knee-jerk reaction of, oh, I don't like this. I feel like you're gaslighting me. And why aren't you fighting with me? Why aren't you yelling? Why aren't you doing this? And it's like, because this is supposed to be healthy and this is what we do, right? And then ultimately just a trauma response. I had this conversation with a friend this past week about me getting back into yoga. And the body definitely holds on to things. Not only emotionally, but also spiritually and damn sure physically. I remember going to the chiropractor and they talked about how I had limited mobility in my spine, which I was unaware of that. I thought I was fine. They was like, you have limited mobility in your spine. They was like, your muscles are really tight. Did the adjustment. Cool. I came back, I think maybe 2 days later, and they said, oh my goodness, your muscles are really tight. It snapped everything back into place. And it was like, we're really going to have to, do some work to get this where it needs to be. And ultimately, since my muscles were in that state for so long, it went back. Muscle memory. Okay. And so it's that whole trauma response of you remember these things. So it definitely takes work to release that trauma, to remove from that. Trying to heal, you are going to unintentionally revert back to old habits and routines. But it's something that you have to keep working at for it to not happen anymore. So same thing with the yoga. I'm doing the yoga and doing yoga 2 days in a row. Did 2 days in a row. And I was like, oh my gosh, my muscles so tight. At the end of my session, I felt better. The next day I came back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm still tight. I just did yoga yesterday and I was feeling great after. It's like muscles go back to where it is. The body is very intelligent. Very intelligent. A lot of people don't give it credit. The body is very intelligent and it does its thing for sure. So I'm saying all that so that you can recognize that a lot of times you are doing things just unintentionally because it's a force of habit. However, with you being aware of what you are attempting to do and the changes you are wanting to make, you can then catch yourself early on that was, look, I'm doing a thing again. Let me either take a beat, right? Or let me just redirect, let me change something, right? So it's the whole thing of like you needing to be aware of what is happening so you can change that. The other thing is going to be subconscious beliefs. This is what I deserve. This is normal. This is all oh my goodness, this is all I know thing. I always sit here and say, as adults, I am not giving 100% grace when you say this is all I know. Change that. You are grown. You are grown. So when people sit there and say, oh, well, they went through this and they went through this, and that's what they've been aware of that. They have been aware of what they went through for decades and they still ain't changed it. They don't want to change it. A lot of people don't want to change. A lot of people will be aware of what happened, but they use that because they're getting some type of attention for that. They're getting some type of attention to that. So you saying this is all I know, if fine, cool. That's all you knew up until now. Now you know different. So now start doing the work to do different. Like that saying, you know better, you do better. And now that you know, let's start changing it. Because I don't want to hear you say, this is all I know. No, 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 that's what you knew. Just because something is normal does not mean it's okay. Racism to some people is normal. It's not okay. Okay? When you have been corrected, it is up to you to now start making the strides to improvement. This is what I deserve. Where did I want to know where that belief comes from, right? I know people will say that they deserve certain things because of karma, but again, people are using the westernized definition of karma. So now that you are aware of the westernized definition of karma and what karma really is, do you still believe that this is what you deserve? You do not have to pay for, you do not have to repeatedly repay, you do not have to repeatedly pay for a mistake. I'm throwing my hand up for those that can't see. I'm throwing my hand up. Now, that don't apply to everything. Okay, I want y'all to know. That's not a blanket statement. Just want you to know that. But, so let's say maybe you had a best friend, right? Matter of fact, I got a story. Got a story. This ain't my personal story. I want y'all to know that this ain't my personal. This is something that I have, again, listening to other people. I know someone who said that they slept with their best friend's partner. When someone that liked them, even though it didn't move nowhere, someone that liked them, then tried to see if something was going to happen between the best friend. They took it as, you know what, this is what I deserve because I did this to them. And it's like, I'm not going to say that that's what you deserve, but also, I'm not going to say that's what you deserve, but I will say that don't take it personally. One of the four. Don't take it personally. Because things happen. Life, fate, destiny, it is definitely a spectrum for sure. Because when it comes to destiny, you will end up where you're supposed to end up, regardless of the road you take. Okay. And some of y'all may not understand that right now, but you may later. I pray that you get some clarity on what I mean by that. But I'm trying to think. I think I mentioned this again in the previous episode of there's a movie called Look Both Ways. And in that movie, right, she slept with her friend, her best friend. In one path, she had a kid by him, and another path didn't. moved to California, right? And won. Ultimately, it ended up with her being at the Sun Film Festival. And it resulted in both storylines of her, I want to say, winning in the category that she went in. Okay. So she still ended up overall where she was supposed to be. However, the experience was different. So for you to say, this is what I deserve, I don't accept it, because regardless if what you did, that still does not change what ultimately the overall picture was going to happen. If you get what I'm saying, right? Of better example, when it comes to people having children, men say this a lot of they used to dog women out. Then they had a daughter. So some people have this idea of like, oh, men have a lot of daughters because they wronged so many women. That's why they have so many daughters. That's why they don't have sons, because they wronged so many women, and that's what they get. Because now their daughters is gonna go through what they went through. Right? It's that whole thing is like, it's not true. It's not true, right? So also I'm saying all that to say is that belief that you have, you can change that. You literally can change that. This is normal. And then you start experiencing something else. It's like, I want this to be my new normal. Now this, right? Things can change. Numero tres, lack of awareness. Not recognizing patterns in real time and ignoring the early signs. I literally just mentioned that not too long ago about if you are doing something and you's like, I'm noticing I'm doing the thing again. Let's change it. That's typically how patterns repeat, is you're just not catching it early on. Start moving with awareness, start moving with intent, and you will catch these patterns in real time. You will start recognizing, you will start noticing the signs early on. That's simple. I don't think we need to go any further than that. We don't need to go no further. I think that's that. Okay. So now we have culture check. Culture check. Why cycles are normalized. We have some talking points for us today. Generational patterns, relationship models we saw growing up, cultural expectations around tolerance and endurance, the ride or die mentality, and being taught to stay instead of grow. I like how in previous episodes I didn't touch on all this, but we're going to talk about it today. Okay. The generational patterns, that whole generational cursing, generational trauma. When a lot of people talk about generational curse, they always make it seem like some lady did some magic on them, right? Someone put a curse on their bloodline. And that's why they're going through what they're going through. You're going through what you're going through because you saw these things around you. Subconsciously, it is ingrained in your brain, right? They say when you want to learn a language, listen to the music, watch the shows. You don't have to worry about textbooks. You don't have to worry about flashcards. Just listen to the music. You'll pick it up. Science shows that. You pick it up. It's the whole, what's the word? It's something subjective, right? So there's examples of they will have a whiteboard and they will put something on a board, right? They'll probably put the number 5 on the board, right? And they'll maybe put like a heart and a star. They don't point out the 5, the heart, and the star on the board. They don't say. They're doing other things. Okay. And so teachers like, everyone pick a number. Pick the number. So the teacher's like, who in here picked the number 5? People start raising their hand. He was like, yeah. So then he's all like, everyone, take a piece of paper out, draw a shape. Who in here drew a heart? He was like, how do you know? How do you know? It's because it's plastered on the wall. You saw it. Even though he didn't point it out, you saw it and it got put in your mind. Okay. So we see things growing up. Now, that does not mean it's always going to happen, but okay. When it comes to relationships, a lot of men, but not a lot, but men that grew up in a household where the mother was abused tend to put hands on their partner. They grew up with it. It's normal, right? They watch their father yell and scream, or they see the mother yell and scream at the dad, right? They're always fighting this and that third. So now they're in a relationship that is mirroring that. And they're like, I don't understand why. I don't. Okay. It was modeled in front of their eyes. So therefore they picked it up. It's normal. Okay. A lot of times people feel like you have to be taught to do something. Like you have to sit at a table or a desk, pen and paper, taught. A lot of times you are taught because it's just playing out in front of you. You're seeing it. You're getting that experience, that hands-on experience. Okay. Being aware of that and wanting different, you will then do different. I grew up in a point in time in a house where I may have not seen him physically put hands on his partner. And I'm talking about the man on my birth certificate. And that's another story for another day. He's not my biological dad. That's why I say what I said. But I know that he was putting hands on her because I would hear them. And I would hear her screaming for help, crying for help. Right. And I think there was one time I like kind of busted in a room or something like that. It was around that. Now, I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think it was normal. I didn't think it was not normal. I didn't think anything about it. I just knew that they were fighting. Okay. And so I end up getting in relationships early on where we were not yeah, I guess we were fighting. Because trying to go around it, yeah, to an extent we were fighting. So yes, we were fighting. I sit here and I was like, I defended myself. I slapped him across the face with a cell phone for grabbing on me and chased me down the street and, kicked him through a window, kicked him through a wall because he was trying to hit me, and I was on the ground. So yeah, it's that whole thing. And it's like, okay, I don't want to live like this. And that also comes with that ride or die mentality of I'm going to stick it through because at some point in time, we're going to be good. We're not going to fight no more. We're not going to argue. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. There are so many relationships that I have stayed in because of the whole thing of if at some point in time, it's going to change. It's going to be different. And I want y'all to know that it ain't going to change and it ain't going to be different. What'll be different is that they're going to be single and I'm going to be single. Okay, so it's also cultural expectation around tolerance and endurance of how many women have sat here and talked about divorcing their husband, wanting to leave because of infidelity, because of abuse. And people's like, oh no, you got to stick it through, right? You have to stick it through. It's okay. He'll change or things will be different or maybe you should start doing it. We have to stop. And that's again why I always tell people, you're going to do what you want to do. But I want you to do what is ultimately best for you. Don't think about the other person, how it's going to make them feel. What is going to be best for you and do that. Because I have listened to people in relationships, tell me things. And I'm like, hey, you're going to do what you want to do. So I ain't even gonna waste my breath on telling you what you should do. You do what you want to do. However, I will say I want you to look at your future and how you feel, right? What does it look like? And if this person, place, or thing does not fit within the vision of your future, then that's your answer on what you should do. Okay. I'll also be like, you know, when you've had enough. Okay. That ride or die mentality has to end because it's never that hard. It should never be that hard. To be in a relationship with someone, it should never be that hard. Now, that's not to say that there won't be obstacles, that there won't be challenges. Sure. However, it ain't going to feel like you being dragged through the mud. That's the whole thing. The ride or die mentality is really you enduring so much. You don't get no cookie. You don't get no parade. So why are you doing it? If you know you are not happy, listen to that. Spirit is always talking. I've said this a long time ago. I know I have a video on it, but I said that spirit is always talking, and it definitely talks through our body, right? Whether it is your spirit, because we all have a spirit, or it's your spirit cord. Spirit is always talking, and they talk through your body, your emotions, the sensations you feel. That is a communication. Your body is always communicating with you as well, and it's telling you when something's off. However, we just aren't aware because a lot of times being aware requires you to slow down. It requires you to take a beat, take a breath. Okay. So that ride or die mentality, we have to end that, just like that whole hustle culture thing. We gotta put an end to that because it's running us into the ground. It is making things harder than what it has to be. Okay. It is okay to outgrow. A lot of times we are being taught to stay in things, to see it through instead of just growing. It's okay to outgrow things. It's okay to change. It's okay to want different. So do not repeat this cycle because people are saying, oh, you got to see this through. Oh, you're being indecisive. If it don't work, it don't work. If your heart's not in it, your heart's not in it. It ain't going to get in it overnight. Make the change. Make the change. College is a great example of that. So many people that have graduated said they started off with one major and then end up changing and they end up graduating with a certain thing, or they start off with one major, they went to a different, then they went to a different, then they went to a different, and then they found what was really for them. That's life. Okay. There's so many options in front of you. You don't always make the quote unquote right choice right away, especially when it involves other people. So that's why I sit here and say, learning from past experience, when someone tell me, oh, you should do this, or you need to do this because you change your mind a lot, and I changed my mind because I realized it wasn't a fit for me. I thought it was a fit, and it's not. And that's okay because that's my truth. Staying in something that you know is not a fit for you is not going to change that. It's not going to change the reality. It's still going to be what it is. Me staring at this bottle of water is not going to make it sparkling. It is what it is. Okay? I also want to talk about the whole, when it comes to cycle things, the settling. And that also falls into line of being taught to stay instead of grow. It's another way of putting it. Don't settle. Settle. A lot of times we end up staying in things because we are so focused on the other person and how it's going to make them feel, because we don't want to hurt them, because we don't want to be looked at a bad person, or because we don't want to lose them. And I say, if making the best decision for you costs you that relationship, whether it's platonic or romantic, if it costs you that, good riddance. Because what is on the other side of you choosing yourself is always going to be the best thing and most rewarding thing. Because if you stay in something, there may begin, especially if it's involving other people, you may begin to resent that person. There's always going to be this anger because, like, oh, I should have done this, but I did. I hear this in relationships too. I stayed because of da, 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 da. I should have left. Now I can't go nowhere. It's like you can always go somewhere, but don't stay on my accord. If you grow, you grow. And again, I'm different. I always want people to have what is best for them. Live your truth because let me live mine. We are two different people, sweetheart. We may both be human, but we are not the same. Two trees, right? A magnolia tree and a pine tree, two different trees. But they trees, are they not? Okay, so let me be me, you be you. Only thing you can do is learn from me. Learn from me. You like some of the routines and habits that I have? By all means, pick it up and start implementing it in your life. But don't try to change me, because I ain't gonna try to change you. Period. So the next one we have, okay, is just my opinionated take. It's my opinionated take. And this is my opinionated take. You are not being punished. You are being presented with the same lesson until you choose differently. That is the wheel of fortune. Matter of fact, no. That is the world card. For those that read tarot, I say this all the time when it comes to the world. Because when it comes to the tarot, the wheel of fortune, yeah, it's fate, luck, and destiny. And yes, it is the whole thing of if you want something to happen, you do the actions and you get it. If you want something to happen, you don't do the action, you don't get it. That was, again, it's because of you. But the world card is a card of cycles, it's a card of completion. However, I always tell people the cycle is completed when you do not repeat the lesson. So the same thing, if you're not being punished, you're just being presented with the same lesson until you choose differently. Again, a lot of people always say, oh, I regret this. I wish I can change that. You have the opportunity to change it now. You cannot go back in time and change it. However, based off your present moment, the next step you take does affect your future. So you have the opportunity to change. You have the opportunity to do something different. So choose differently and watch that cycle break. Because life ultimately repeats when you don't address it. And this is why I keep pushing that whole thing. You need to be aware and you need to be honest with yourself. Awareness without action keeps you stuck. Okay. Because again, you can be aware of something. A lot of people are very aware of something, very aware. However, they are not changing their actions. And that's why I say a lot of people are content. A lot of people are very comfortable where they are. They know what they need to do, they just don't want to do it. I am one of those people too. Again, I'm honest. And I will tell people, I just don't want to do it. I know what I need to do. I just don't want to do it. I don't want to do it right now. I will get to when I get to it. Let me be, please. Let me be. But there are some people that are very aware and just ultimately don't want to change it because they feel like that change is going to cost them what they're comfortable with, or that change is going to be more challenging. And a lot of times we try to eat an elephant in one bite. Little by little. Okay, that 1% rule again. That 1% rule. Because a lot of times we don't take actions because we're like, oh my gosh, this is such a big thing. How am I going to do it? Oh my gosh. Little by little. Again, with me learning Spanish, a lot of people, and I know I said this for myself too, when it came to learning Spanish, I would always be, oh, I want to know Spanish right now, though. Like, I want to be able to have conversation. I want to be able to do this, I want to do that. I don't practice because I'm not, I don't know enough words. I'm not fluent. Ain't never gonna get there if you don't start now. You ain't never gonna get there if you don't make the mistakes and have someone correct you so you can learn, right? You ain't never gonna get there because you don't it's not gonna happen overnight. And a lot of us want the change. We want the results immediately. So therefore we don't take the action. We are aware of what needs to be done, but we want it immediately. We don't want to go through the process because it was like, oh, it's going to take so long. The process is going to take as long as you take. Moving on. And change ultimately does require different decisions, not just understanding, but you have to make the decision. You have to want change and you have to actively go at it. Because again, it doesn't happen overnight. So you must actively do the thing. Healing isn't proven, but what you understand. Healing isn't proven by what you understand, it's proven by what you no longer tolerate. And it's true. Because when it comes to people bringing up your past, oh, you used to do this, you used to do this. Now you're different. Yeah, I don't tolerate it no more. I've moved forward in my life. I've began to realize I don't like this thing and I want different for myself. Don't tolerate it no more. Next, breaking the cycle. There are different ways to breaking down a cycle. I'm going to point them out again because, again, I have said this. Hopefully, y'all be taking notes and hopefully, y'all be listening. Hopefully, y'all are hearing what I'm saying. Not only are y'all listening, but I hope that y'all are hearing what I'm saying. Slowing down and becoming aware. Before making a decision, if you know you're a person, you make decisions rashly. I'm going to do this. And then you get in it and you're like, oh, dang, I should have done something different. If you know you are that type of person, maybe when you're presented with something, marinate it on a little bit. Someone asks you a question, oh, do you want to do this? Let me get back to you. Because if you know you have a habit of overbooking yourself, overextending yourself, let me get back to you. Let me check a few things. I'll let you know. Boom. Slow down. Because now you're aware that you tend to just say things and do things without a thought. Identifying triggers and patterns. Healing ultimately is prompted by triggers. It's prompted by triggers. Okay. And healing also is going to require you to change habits. It's going to require you to change your patterns. It's going to require you to change your routine. Choosing different even when it's uncomfortable. And this really applies when you're in a group of people. The whole going against the grain of everyone wants to do this, but you don't want to do it. I'm going to go do this. Yeah, people are going to say, oh, you're being difficult. Oh, you're doing this. Oh, break the cycle. I'm not a big fan of using the term birds of a feather flock together. But but I will say that people that you are very close knit with, like very close knit, because you can have friends in different avenues, right? But people that you are very close knit with, yeah, typically birds of a feather flock together. Okay. And so when you start doing things that's different, yeah, they start treating you different. or you end up not being friends with them, or whatever the case may be. But if you are a close knit group, like a bird of a feather that do flock together, because birds of a feather do flock together, though, for real. But there's many birds that be hanging up in the tree, not just the. But anyway, but I want you to take a look at the people you surround yourself with on a regular basis and ask yourself, is that in alignment with your morals? Is that in alignment with how you want to identify yourself either presently or in the future? And that's not nothing mean, but for example, I'm a very optimistic person. If I realize that a person is very pessimistic, they are always negative and always the world's out to get them, the world's falling. I can't hang out with you like that no more. We are not the same. It's either you gonna try to work to be a little bit more optimistic and start taking accountability for things and start wanting to change for your life, or we are just going to have to cross paths when we cross paths. But being tight like that, not gonna happen, right? So I definitely say look at the people and environments that you surround yourself with and ask yourself, is this what you truly want in life? And if it's not what you truly want in life, then begin to make the changes. And again, if it costs you a friendship, it costs you a friendship because the reward should outweigh. Another thing with breaking cycles is setting those boundaries. A lot of people know I do not gossip. I don't care. I don't want to know. If you tell me, you tell me. But I'm not about to seek it. you know. But also I'm relaxing. I don't want to talk. I don't want to hear nothing negative. Go talk to someone else about that. You want to vent, go vent to somebody else. I don't want to hear it. Blank period. Boundaries, I say, is a great way of knowing who is truly there for you and who's not. Because if you set a boundary and people don't like it, they're going to leave. People that never really care for you, it's always, all right, well, I'm good. Bye. But people that truly want to be in your life, it's like, okay, it's weird for me too, but I'm working. You got to be a little graceful too, because if you put this boundary up that was never there, people got to adjust to that as well. So be a little graceful with that. But setting boundaries is definitely a way to break cycles. I'm not a drinker. In the past, have I drank? Yeah. But even then, I was like, I don't want no shot. I don't want to drink. I didn't come to drink. I didn't come to drink. People always try to force me. You got to drink. Take a shot. Take a shot. And it's like, I stopped coming around. Or ultimately, they just stop inviting me because they know I'm not no drinker. They just stop inviting me. Cool. Thanks for respecting that. Because their whole thing is, even though they were okay with me not drinking, they also didn't invite me anymore because they want everybody that's around them to drink. So if it has any liquor in the building, they not inviting me because they know I'm not going to drink. And it can kind of come off like a buzzkill to some people of like, why she not drinking? People get real uppity about you not want to drink. It's so weird. But again, have those boundaries. Another way to break the cycles is walking away earlier. Know when to walk away. Know when to walk away. Know that it ain't never going to change. I'm leaving now. Right? It's like playing poker. I'm out. And then another thing is learn from me. Trust yourself. Trust your intuition. Your intuition gets stronger. Your communication with spirit gets stronger the more you listen. And it's really just stronger because you're more confident in it. You're able to recognize it now. Let's go to some reflection questions. So we have some more prompts. What patterns keep showing up in your life? What are they trying to teach you? And what would choosing differently actually look like? Now, with that choosing differently actually look like, I want you to also be aware that it may not play out the way that you want, but the outcome is still going to be the outcome. Okay? It may not go the way that you want, but the outcome is still going to be the outcome. I want you to know that. Now, I haven't done this in any other episode, but we're going to do some motivation moments. And I'm going to try to wrap this up. Okay? Because I don't know how long I've been on here for. How long have I been on this episode for? Oh, an hour and 10 minutes. Oh, yeah, we definitely wrapping this up. Definitely. All right. So you are not stuck. You are giving the opportunity to grow. To grow. Look at yourself like a seed. When a seed is beginning to sprout, it has to go through, right, that shell. And then it's going through the dirt before it reaches the sun. But once it reaches sun, it's not over. It's still growing and growing and growing. Then it gets to a point where it starts bearing fruit. So you're not being stuck. You're given the opportunity to grow, and you will continuously grow. Life is about growth. Now, you can stop growing at any point in time. However, in life, you're going to have these experiences, and you're going to continue to grow. And that's a beautiful thing. And look at that as beauty, that you have the opportunity, you have the chance to become this version of yourself that you see. You have the opportunity to get everything that you want. So don't ever look at it like you're stuck. And even if you come across this period of being stuck, maybe take a detour, because are you stuck simply because you want it to go the way that you want it? Or are you stuck because it just ultimately it's not for you? But a lot of times you're stuck because you want it to go a specific way. So you have to be able to be flexible. Every repeated lesson is a chance to choose yourself differently. Point blank period. You do have the choice to choose something differently. That is the free will. The free will is how you respond to things. The free will is, do I want to do this thing or do I not want to do this thing? Free will. A lot of people want to look at free will as, and again, yeah, you got the free will to go steal. Yeah, if that's how you want to use your free will, by all means, it's your free will. Do it. But you have the chance to do something differently. Utilize your free will. And the moment you decide to break the cycle, everything begins to change. And it does. It is like popping the cork off of a champagne bottle. Everything changes. And that's okay. Embrace the change. There are different chapters in your life. There's different seasons in your life. There's different characters in your life, right? Different people in your life. And be able to move, be able to flow with life. Because again, when you try to wrangle life up or try to literally make everything go the way you want it to go, it gets very challenging. Flow, let things move. Again, check out Atomic Habits, check out the Four Agreements. It's going to be really helpful. Now, we're going to go ahead and end this episode. Okay. If this episode or anything in this episode resonated with you, I want you to take some time to reflect on the patterns in your life, and not with judgment, but with awareness. And again, don't be hard on yourself. Because a lot of time when we become aware of things, we start putting ourselves in a corner. Start getting real, oh, I did this to myself. It's my fault. Don't do that. It's okay. Change it. You cannot go into the past and change it. However, you can construct your future. Now, I want to thank you all for taking the time to listen to Miss Opinionated. If you have not already subscribed to Miss Opinionated, please subscribe to Miss Opinionated. Miss Opinionated is on Apple Music. It's on Amazon. It's on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Spotify, a gang of others. It's also, the video is listed on YouTube. So please check it out. The YouTube is going to be youtube.com/, youtube.com/ I want to say at Divine Priestess, or youtube.com/Divine Priestess. The links are going to be listed in the caption, the description of this video. So the way you can find my social media. You can also go support Casa de Agos Dulces, which is my nonprofit fostering growth and development mentally, spiritually, and emotionally within the Black and Brown community. And then also just links to various ways to sing this episode and all the other episodes. So I thank you all for joining. Until next time.